Hi everyone, welcome to the Bait Making Channel, a channel dedicated to showing you how to make custom fishing tackle. And in today's video, I'm going to show you how to make this finesse football jig. And this is actually a mold modification from your Football Swing Jig Mold to be able to make this bait. But what's really unique about this is there's not a lot of heavy-duty finesse football jigs on the market. There's not a lot of good options to get your swim bait down on bottom in deep water. So that's actually how I came up with this mold modification. Now this is a very light modification. You can still use your football swing jig mold as intended for your football swing jigs, which is another thing that I really like. It's sort of a multi-purpose mold for me. And we're going to dive into how to get this made. But I'm also going to show you how to make a little swim bait, a 3.5 inch do it mold slick shiner for the back end of that, and this is going to be a perfect bait to pair up in those deeper water situations when you want to swim a swim bait slowly along the bottom. So not only am I going to show you how to make this finesse football jig, but also a small slick shiner 3.5 inch swim bait to go on the back to catch those deep water bass. Let's dive into this thing. So the components you're going to need to make this finesse football head, which is a 1/2 ounce size head with a double bait barb keeper and a 2/0 hook, is going to be the Do It Mold's Football Swing Jig Mold. This is actually a swing head mold, and we're going to make a slight modification. Now what's nice about this modification is you can still use this mold as originally intended as a swing head. It's such a slight modification that by looking at my mold, you can't even tell honestly that this mold was modified. Then you're going to need some Victory 10-111 2/0 size hooks and a WB100 double bait barb keeper. And then whatever paint you want to color your jig head. In today's video, I'm using the brand new Pro-Tec Melon copper color, which is going to match up perfectly with the little swim baits that we're going to make. But that's all you need in order to make this little finesse football head here. If you guys have never utilized the Victory 10-111 hook, what I really like is the sprout bend that is at the base of this hook. This, in my opinion, is the best bend to keep fish pinned, especially on lighter wire style hooks like we're going to be using for this technique. So here's a close-up of the modification on that 1/2 ounce size. You can see a slight indentation on the inside of the 2 notches that are normally on the jig head. What that is for is your bait keeper. So when you go to align your components, what you'll do is place your hook first, and you'll place that on the inside notch, and then you'll take your WB100 size bait keeper and place it into the inside portion of the mold. Now what you'll do, and when I do a light modification, you'll close the mold, and I'll take a dead blow mallet, which is a really important component, and I'll just hit the mold. I'll place it on a piece of wood so it's up off the ground, and I'll hit it with the dead blow mallet 1 or 2 times, and that'll create the indentation that allows me to utilize this mold with these components. Here's a better shot of all the components in the mold. You have your hook, which is on the inside little notch in the mold, and then your bait keeper is placed just inside of the hook. And when you close the mold and you use the dead blow mallet, you'll create just a slight indentation where that bait keeper can sit perfectly. You'll get this to pour every single time, but you'll still be able to utilize this mold as a standard football swing head. So when you go to align your components, I take that 10-111 hook, goes on the inside there, and then my dual bar bait keeper is going to fit just inside like that, and my mold will close perfectly complete. Now this closest size is the 1/2 ounce size, and then just pour it through, give it a little shake, and you get a perfect pour every single time. The bait that we're going to be pouring to go on the back of that little football jig is going to be the slick shiner. Now the reason that I like this bait is it is a small 3.5 inch style swim bait. Now I really like this because I go through a ton of these baits. The tails get ripped off relatively easily, fish short striking, or just because of the sake that it's a small swim bait, it gets a lot of bites. So having the opportunity to pour 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 baits at one time makes it really nice. Also, another nice thing about the slick shiner mold, it is a top shot mold. What that means is you can very easily shoot laminate baits through this mold, and it's just a really nice option to have when you're shooting baits. So the color I'm going to be shooting today is like a watermelon style color with a little bit of orange flake in it. It's going to match your perch really effectively, as well as your gobies and the small bait fish that are in most of our lakes up here in the north. So I'm going to start with some remelt that I have, some old katana craw remelts that I can melt back down, some perch drop shot baits that I was making that I can melt back down. And that's going to be the base of what we're going to pour today. But it makes it really nice being able to remelt some product because I don't go through quite as much plastisol when I do it that way. So I'm going to get this torn up. I'm going to fill up this jar to about 2 cups, which will melt down to about 1 cup of plastic so we can get these baits started to roll. We have all the recycled plastics cut up, so we're going to toss it in the microwave just for like 3 or 4 minutes, get this plastic started to melt down, and then I'll add some plastisol stabilizer once we get to the point where it's pretty much all melted. Especially when I'm remelting plastic, this is a must to keep your plastic in good condition, so when you shoot it through the baits, your baits are going to come out looking prime. Unlike raw plastisol, you don't have to get this to 350 degrees. Once it's all melted down and you can get it into your injector and shooting clean, that's pretty much good. So I'm nowhere near, but you don't have to get remelts back up to 350. Once it's melted down and it's easily injectable, you're good to go. So one thing about remelts is you don't necessarily know the exact color that your bait's going to look like. Now, I have a pretty decent idea. I melted down some clear with orange flake and some green pumpkin and watermelon with black flake. So my bait should basically be a green pumpkin with black and orange flake. But most of the time, unless you're melting down one single color, you don't know with certainty exactly what your bait's going to look like when you're doing remelt colors. So I'm not going to add any colorant. I'm not going to add anything to this right now. I'm just going to shoot some through my molds and kind of see what color these baits turn out like. And then from there, we can adjust to make them look exactly how we'd like. And because you have all these small cavities, it's not taking a whole lot of plastisol to fill up each cavity. So I basically push, fill up the cavities, and then I'm just going to go through and top them off so that it fills out the mold. And with a single medium-sized injector, you can pretty much top off all of the baits. There's pretty much no material remaining in the injector. It's like perfect. It's like they knew. With a regular size injector, you can fill up this mold pretty much perfectly. So I'm going to toss this back in the microwave just to keep it warm while we wait on these baits to solidify. So I don't believe I had this second clamp far enough back in the mold. So I had a little bit of plastic that seeped out the bottom here. My mold wasn't clamped quite tight enough, but I believe most of these baits should have poured cleanly. Yeah, we got flashing on these back two, which I expected because I had the clamp too far forward. But that's a pretty neat color. Like I predicted, it's like a green pumpkin style color, a little bit of orange flake, and it looks like I had some purple flake mixed in here as well. And you get a perfect little 3.5 inch finesse style swim bait to go on the back of those football heads. And these last two are gonna end up in the remelt pile for the next time we shoot some baits. Here's a little closer look at what that bait turned out like. And this is an Essential Series mold, so it's not the most perfect looking glossy style bait, which in my opinion is really, really nice. I like matted style baits when I'm fishing clean water situations. So I really like these Essential Series molds, but what you end up with is almost like a matted color scheme, and then it's green pumpkin with just a little bit of black flake and some orange flake that shimmers throughout. And I think there was some bronze or gold pearl in the color that I mixed in here. What I might do is add just a little bit more orange flake or just a little bit more black flake so there's a little bit more dynamic coloring in this. But overall, it's a pretty cool color for just having mixed down some remelts out of my remelt bin. Turned out pretty nice. So you can really see it here, and I couldn't tell necessarily in that lighting, but there's definitely some bronze or gold pearl in this bait. But what I want is to have a little bit more dynamic coloring. So I think I'm going to add maybe some really fine 0.015 orange flake in here and just add a little bit. I don't want to overwhelm this bait with orange flake, but I want this bait to have just a little bit more than what is currently in there. So I'm going to mix this in. I'm going to heat this plastic back up. And I think that's starting to get us a little bit closer. Maybe just a touch more orange, and then we'll be exactly where we want to be at. But that's going to give that bait a little bit more shine, a little bit more flake in the water. And that's pretty much what I'm looking for right there. It looks like there's some blue flake in here as well. Maybe I mixed in a bait that had some blue flake in it, because I'm definitely getting little hints of blue in there as well, which looks pretty neat. I'm sorry to tell you guys, if you like this color a lot, I can't tell you the exact formulation because I don't really know. All I know is there's some orange, there's some blue, there's some gold or bronze pearl highlight powder, and that's going to make a killer little bluegill or perch imitation. What I tried this time is essentially setting my clamps at both ends of the mold. That's probably how I should have done it the first time. I just haven't honestly shot much plastic lately. Top off the mold with way too much plastic, but that should make sure my baits fill as best as possible. Then I'll just dump the rest back in there, let it heat up. Okay, so let's see how these ones turned out. And these ones turned out much, much, much better. I hope you guys can tell how cool those look in comparison. There's a lot more orange, and I think the orange actually draws out the other flake as well. It just fills out some of that green so much better. But these baits turned out so cool. You have a nice sheen, a nice gold, bronze shine. You can definitely see the blue and black now. And that is exactly what I was expecting when I mixed in some extra orange. I'm super excited. I'm going to shoot through the rest of my plastisol, and then we'll get back to showing you guys all of the baits in their final form. So those will be the last baits that I'm going to be able to get from this batch. But we didn't even have a full cup of plastisol, and we have quite a few baits, a ton of leftover sprue material, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more baits in the mold right now. But here's a look at all of the baits that we just shot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 23 baits, and an entire Pyrex full of more remelt. So it's like 3 packs of plastics plus an entire more container of remelt plastic that you can remelt down and make more baits with. That to me is a pretty good deal. Plus you can make really cool colors like this here. You know, green pumpkin, some orange flake, black flake. Looks like your bluegills, looks like your perch, and it is going to be a killer color for those big goby eating smallmouth. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and enjoyed learning how to make this small slick shiner in the Do It Mold's football head jig, because this is going to be a killer combo anytime your bass are getting into deeper water situations. You can also make some really nice finesse football jigs with skirts on these if you so choose, and catch a lot of big fish. So it's a multi-purpose bait, multi-purpose mold. It's going to help you guys go out and catch really big fish this season. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and if you want to see another video where I'm showing you guys how to make some unique baits, click this video right here. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you next time.